The Golden State Warriors have been kind of an under-the-radar type team, which is crazy to talk when you're talking about the Warriors, because they have been all the talk about for the past decade when it comes to the NBA and the top teams in it, and they even made a huge trade for Chris Paul that we are going to be getting to later in this video. But even despite all these crazy moves, they've kind of been an under-the-radar team, and they're not really getting looked at as being a legit contender anymore. They're a good team and still going to be a playoff team, but not a lot of people have them up there with the Denver Nuggets of the world, with the Milwaukee Bucks of the world, and with those type of teams. But in my opinion, they are still right there, and I think they made a lot of very underrated moves and very good moves that are going to help them get even better than they were last year. And I think a few reasons why they were down last year aren't going to be affecting them going into next year, and I think a lot of things are going in their direction for them to try to get back to that contending status we have seen them at many times in the past. So if that does sound interesting to you, please watch the video all the way through. And without further ado, without running too much, let's get right into this video. And the first thing I really want to get into for this video is going to be look at the new look Warriors did, and some of the moves that they made that I think are going to be very good and help them in the long run going into this season. The first big one that everyone knows about, obviously, is the huge splash trade they made by trading for Chris Paul from the Washington Wizards, and in exchange for Chris Paul, they gave up Peanut Butter Jelly, aka Patrick Baldwin Jr., they gave up Jordan Poole and Ryan Hollins to go along with a 2030 top 20 first round protected pick, and then a 2027 second round pick as well. And obviously in return, they got Chris Paul. And yes, they gave up a lot, and a lot of people think maybe Jordan Poole long term is going to be the better player because Chris Paul's so old and might not have that much longer on his contract. But you have to remember, the Warriors are trying to win right now with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. They're trying to milk every last bit of winning out of this core because of how good they are, and I think Chris Paul, short-term winning-wise, will probably impact them more, especially after the season we just saw Jordan Poole had. He kind of declined a little bit, he wasn't as efficient, and he just kind of probably wanted to be his own guy and try to be the guy on a team, and I think egos were getting in the way of them being successful. So I think getting rid of that huge distraction between Draymond and Jordan Poole is a ginormous win for both sides of this trade. And I just think overall Jordan Poole got what he wants by being the guy in Washington now, and then I think the Warriors got what they wanted with getting a veteran that's going to help them maybe win championships in the short term. And I think both sides really got what they wanted out of this trade, and I think both sides are going to be better for making this trade. Also, the next thing I think they did this offseason was they had one of the best underrated drafts in the entire NBA, as with the 17th overall pick in the first round, they picked Brandon Podziemski out of Santa Clara. And I think Brandon Podziemski, although I don't know if he has the self-making that Jordan Poole had coming in, I think he is going to be a very good player, and overall I just think that he is going to be a great addition for them. He's going to be a great spot-up shooter, just a great passer, very high basketball IQ guy. He's going to be able to grasp their scheme that Steve Kerr puts up for them, and I think he's going to fit in this offense almost perfectly. It might take him a few months to just get used to it, but he's not going to have that much pressure on him. He's going to be just a young guy in the rotation, but I do think he is going to be a great player for them down the line, and he's going to be an impactful player even in year one for them. Then with the 57th overall pick, they went and picked Trayce Jackson-Davis, who for some reason plummeted down draft boards on draft night. He was supposed to go high second round to late first round, and for some reason he didn't go to almost the very last pick of the draft, and that is absolutely insane. And Trayce Jackson-Davis is going to be a great player. He can't really shoot, he can't really spread the floor as of right now, but he's just a very good defender, good rebounder, very smart player. He's just going to be a great Draymond Green backup. He is the ideal guy to back up Draymond Green, and he is very good, and both of them played extremely well in the summer league this year. Podziemski averaged the 4th most rebounds per game and the 3rd most assists per game among all guards in this summer league, and he also averaged 9 points per game. Yes, his efficiencies were down, they weren't very good, but he's very young. That efficiencies are usually the last thing to come. And then Trayce Jackson-Davis, although he only got to play in 2 games due to some issues, Trayce Jackson-Davis played extremely well in the summer league this year, averaging 16 points per game, 8.5 rebounds per game, 1.5 steals per game, and 1.5 blocks per game as well. Both of them showed a ton of promise, and I think they're both going to be very good players and impactful players in year one for this Warriors team. I just think overall they had one of probably the best drafts in the entire league this year, which is impressive when you only have the 17th and the 57th picks you're going off of. To have one of the better drafts is extremely good work from that Golden State Warriors front office, in my opinion. And then also some other moves they did. They re-signed Draymond Green, which is big. They wanted to keep the big three, the championship core, together. That's exactly what they did. And then they also went out and signed Dario Saric, who I think is going to be a little bit more impactful than a lot of people are giving him credit for as as well. Now that we got all the moves out of the way and how I think they're going to be beneficial, let's get into how I think they're actually going to use those moves to be better than they were last year and to kind of have a rebound season after a somewhat disappointing season last year. The first thing I want to get into is going to be the Chris Paul, how I think they should utilize him. Now, obviously, I'm probably not the guy over like Steve Kerr to say how he should use Chris Paul, but in my opinion, I think they would be best off using Chris Paul as a six man when Curry comes out. I think he would be a perfect fit with people like Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins. He spent multiple years playing with very good shooting guards and wings with the Phoenix Suns. He even spent a few months with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, so he does know how to play with elite wings and elite shooting guards, and that's exactly what the Golden State Warriors have, just to a lesser degree in Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins. And I think he would be able to fit very, very well with them. And with how high of an IQ of a passer he is, I think he's going to be able to get Klay Thompson the ball in great spots. He's very smart. That IQ didn't go away. Now, yes, he's not the scorer he once was, but he can still give you a bucket when he absolutely needs to. He's going to be clutch. And like I said, he's just so smart with the ball that I think he would be fitting very well with Klay Thompson. The only reason I don't think they should start him is because I don't think you ever want to take the ball out of Steph Curry's hands bringing the ball up the court. I just think that's not the move. And I think the best way to do it is have Chris Paul be your six man, and legitimately will probably be one of the best six men in the entire NBA. He might not score the most, but he is going to be a great passer and just a great veteran leader to help this team forward going into the playoffs and things like that. And I just think overall Chris Paul as a six man would be perfect for subbing in for when Steph Curry comes out if you leave Klay and Wiggins on the floor. I just think he would be absolutely perfect in that situation. I think that's going to be the biggest change, but another big change is the fact that they kept that big three together, and I think their chemistry got a lot better. Because I don't care what you say. You can say Jordan Poole and Draymond apologized to each other and they were over it, but they weren't. There's no way nothing could have been the same after that punch between those two. It had to be awkward all season. And when you have something looming over you like that all season, it is almost impossible to win at the highest level of basketball. You just can't have the distractions. Any great coach will ever tell you that. Phil Jackson always preached that. People like Mike Krejci out of Duke would preach that as well. They always say you can't have distractions like that. Your chemistry has to be good. Everyone has to want to play for each other. And they just probably didn't have that after that whole situation with Draymond and Poole. So I think overall that's going to help a lot. They re-signed Draymond, they kept the big three, the chemistry's there, and their chemistry probably got helped a little bit by getting rid of Jordan Poole and getting rid of that ginormous distraction that everyone was probably thinking about. And then I think Brandon Podziemski is going to be a great player to kind of fill in the hole that they lost in Jordan Poole, because there's no debating it. Yes, Poole had a down year last year, but Poole was a very, very good scorer off of a bench and just a great scorer, period, starter or not. So I think he did leave a hole, but Podziemski is going to be able to kind of fill that. Now, maybe not to the level that Poole did, and maybe not to the self-creation that Poole did, especially not year one, but I do think he's going to be a start to kind of fill that gap, and I think he is going to be way better than a lot of people think he is going to be, and overall is going to be a very impactful player. On top of that, Moses Moody is going to develop a little bit more as well, so kind of as a team effort off the bench, they might be able to fill that hole a little bit more now that Jordan Poole is gone, and no telling how it can go. And I just think Brandon Podziemski is going to go a long way in replacing Jordan Poole. And then Trayce Jackson-Davis, I think, could be a great, a ideal backup for Draymond Green. Because let's be honest, Draymond Green's 34 right now? He's old. He needs to rest. He can't play 30 minutes a night for an entire regular season. He's going to get injured at some point, or he's going to be exhausted by the time the playoffs come, and that's when it matters. But now having a young guy like Trayce Jackson-Davis, he's going to be able to eat up a lot of minutes. He plays almost the exact same way. Now, yes, he's not going to be as good of a defender, most likely. He's not going to be as impactful as a player, so there's going to be a little bit of drop-off, but you're going to be able to rest Draymond Green a lot more now that you have a player behind him that is very young, that plays very similar to him, and is going to play the exact same role, basically. And I think that is very, very important, and I think Trayce Jackson-Davis is going to be a ginormous piece to this team's success, not from a production standpoint, but just from being able to rest their star-level players. Because let's be honest, the big three isn't getting any younger. They're pretty old at this point. Now, yes, they're still good, but they're old, and they're getting older, so they need to start resting during the season, and I think Podziemski is going to help with that a lot. I think Sarge is going to help with that a lot, and I think Trayce Jackson-Davis with Draymond Green is going to help with that tremendously, especially in the regular season. Then lastly, even the addition of Dario Saric, who probably not a lot of people think is going to make an impact at all, I think Sarge could make a huge impact on this team, especially early on, and maybe even into the playoffs, because the last time the Warriors had a big Sarge was when they had Valencia in the 2021 through 22 season, where they won the NBA Finals, and he was actually a huge huge part in spreading the floor for them, giving them big minutes in the finals, by the way. And he even had a game where I think he had like 12 or 15 points in the finals. And he just played very good and helped them win games. And the Warriors love having bigs like that. And that is exactly what Dario Saric could provide. And we've seen time and time again, they have these type of bigs that can shoot, and they love to use them and utilize them in different ways. And they usually have really good years with the Warriors. And I just think overall, he is going to play very, very well, and kind of gives you the whole, like, an opposite of what Kevon Looney gives you. Kevon Looney is going to give you grit, grind, hard paint defense, getting rebounds, and doing things like that. While maybe Dario Saric might not be as good of a rebounder or a defender or anything like that, he can spread the floor more and give you more on the offensive end. And I think having that versatility in your bigs is absolutely crucial, and that is what they are now getting. And I think even he is going to help this team in a big, big way. So from the great draft they had to I think Chris Paul going to help this team winning, to I think that even Dario Saric, I think they made a lot of really solid moves this season, and I think they got better than they were last year, and I think they legitimately can make another finals push if health allows. But I want to hear all your comments in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that the Warriors can be good? How good do you think they're going to be? Comment all that below. And if you like, point, hit the like button and subscribe button. It means the absolute word to me, and I hope you have a blessed day, because I have a blessed day. So you need to have a blessed day. All glory to God. See you next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah.